everyone, Patrice here, and today I want to talk about Flak's build and Flak's elemental build to be more specific. So let's start off straight away with skills. First, this is what I tried and it does not work as well. So this is potentially like an elemental build that I've seen on YouTube. Some other girl YouTuber was talking about a radiation build, and that's what she used. The main thing of this build is obviously this pet and the blue one, so with this increase of 200% pet bonuses, which makes this go from 10% to 30%. But from my experience, and I will show like on a screen when I can, 2 videos of me running this build with the exactly same weapons against the bosses and against some random challenge that I just did, like a gradient of dawn. So I tried both of these, and for me personally, in my opinion, not to be rude to anyone or anything, I think that it doesn't do as well. So this build is not good enough, especially this this skill in general is pretty bad in general. Like most of the monsters that you will fight will have a critical spot that is quite easy to hit if you're playing on PC. Maybe on PS4 and like consoles it's a bit harder, but I still think this skill is useless to go for. First I go full here, then 3 here, all 5 here, and then for now let's just leave it like that because I'm not 100% sure. Oh wait, okay, I remember. 1 point in here just for that extra, gun damage, critical damage, whatnot, and then 1 more point in here, and I think I put 1 more point in here later on. Anyway, then we put 3 points in blue build, just exactly the same thing, and up here it's exactly the same as it always was. Just go all the way, 4 up here, 5, 3, 1. Exactly the same like it always was. The only difference is a little bit difference here. Instead of this now 2 fangs, which is a good skill, right? But instead of this I use this now because 2 fangs, it's like every 4th bullet or something you will get a 2nd bullet, which is not really that good when you're shooting with like this, basically when you're shooting millions of bullets anyway. I personally didn't see much damage output from this, whilst this on the other hand, actually ambush predator gives us a lot of damage, especially against bosses and stuff like that. Well, anyway, and last point goes in here. So because of my mode, and only because I have this mode, I put him like this. So instead of putting more points in here, I put only 1 point in here, since my mode gives me 4 points. Depending on your mode, for example, if your mode would be giving points into this skill or whichever skill, you put differently. Then you make sure that there would be like 5 points here, I don't know, 3 points, 3, 5, just make it like that. I think, at least. You can experiment and see what's better. If something works better for you and is stronger, then make sure to comment it down below so I can try out as well, because maybe I definitely missed something, I don't know. Anyway, up here we go exactly the same thing, fade away, gorillas in the mist, and unblinking eye. Those 2. Oh, I also tried a new build, guys. I actually tried the build without finishing, without any final skill. So I tried all the way up to gorilla in the mist, so it was like 5 points here, and I could use fade away with gorilla in the mist together. Then I tried to put some points here to reach this bit, and then I think I reached like this bit up here or something like that on red skills as well. So I tried that, and to more like make it like everything in one build, but it wasn't good enough again. So this is what we're going with. Anyway, this is the build. We go with the spider ant. That's the only that's the main difference, I would say, is because 10% elemental damage is quite nice. It's better than which one do you use? I think it's this one. Critical hit damage 5% is minor. We don't really need that, and everything else is the same. As an items, in my personal opinion, I think cryo is the best for me and for everyone really. If you don't have a 100% resistance shield like this, for example, electricity, right? Then cryo build is the best because it doesn't kill you. For example, if I damage myself like that, you see I got a cryo effect on me, but it did barely any damage to my shield, and I can shoot with 180% damage extra. Whilst if you use fire or if you use radiation without the red suit, it will kill you really fast. Like as an example, let me show you right now. Look at this. So yes, I'll be strong, but look, I almost died. I got 2k, oh, my shield is gone, everything is gone. That's why Don't do that. The only way to proc is either if you have a weaker grenade, or you can also do, basically I would say just keep to cryo. You can obviously, if you have a good shield that gives resistance towards something, then use that. But for example, if you use 100% resistance for shock damage, then you won't get shock buff either, because that'll just transfer into shields immediately. And the only way to proc fire really, it's either to have a weak grenade or to have a KOV weapon. So for example, I got this KOV weapon, Pain is Power, and I also have this one, Embrace the Pain. Both of them do the same thing. So as soon as he reaches certain level of heat, which is right here, bloop, look, he sets me on fire, but it still does only barely any damage. See to my health? So like it does some damage, I mean not barely, but you know, it's not completely destroys me like the grenade does, whilst I still get the fire elemental damage. Obviously you can use the grenades if you want to quickly kill a boss or something like that, but if you want to go long term, you will die a lot more often. Now, Lucian Skull are the best weapons, obviously because of the ricochet and stuff like that. Obviously Luda is really great, but I think it's gonna be nerfed soon, so I wouldn't expect you to farm Luda. The main thing you need is Lucian Skull. Nothing changed, pretty much the same thing here. Then shield, doesn't really matter what shield you have, depending on element, you know, depending who you're fighting, you always change the shield. I'm using this when I'm fighting like Maliwan kind of enemies, and then I change to other shields. For example, radiation shield if I do a radiation build. I change to frozen heart if I want like more damage, but it doesn't really seem to do that much more damage, so I don't know. It's okay, I guess. And you can use this one, instantly begins recharging if you want to be a bit more tanky, and so on. You know, it doesn't really matter, depends on what your element use. Grenade obviously depends what element use again. So I think Hex Grenade that homes to your closest targets, and MIRV, M-I-R-V, they are the best ones because they deal the most damage, and also they do proc the element on me if you throw it at the bottom. So every time I'm about to throw it, I just throw it like that and carry on fighting, and they fly to the enemy and do damage as well. Wait, what's this? It's a lag, but basically it's an elemental projector splatter gun. While suffering an element effect, increase your damage with the same element. Obviously that's the main thing you do element build with. Also, it gives me 50% shotgun damage whilst a slide, which is pretty decent if I use a shotgun, for example, Brainstormer or Trevenator was a really good shotgun, and obviously Flacker. So you just, when you fight a lot of enemies, you just, you know, slide all the time. Slide and shoot, does like 50% more damage, really decent. But other than that, the main thing you need is that it does elemental damage while suffering an elemental effect. With the mod, it's a bit different one. It depends what skills it gives. You want it to give red skills mainly, and you want it to give the good ones as well, so you can make more of those. But also, if you will give anything else, you can just put less points in there and put more points in something else. This one is good. Hunting skill power increased by 25%. It's actually amazing for a lot of enemies when you're fighting a group. But when you're fighting a boss, it's also good to change it to something like this, which gives 3% chance to activate any purchased hunt skill whilst just dealing gun damage. And also bosses are now treated as human beasts and robotics. Also pretty decent, but this has to have good skills. For example, my one has shit skills, that's why I can't really use it. And also the points that will give you weapon damage, any kind of elemental damage, if that's even possible, I don't think so. But weapon damage, if you get Vladov weapon damage, you know, also great. Sniper damage, also great. Rifle, also great. You know, basically anything that fits your damage and your maker. But that's pretty much it. That's all the build there is. And I think it's pretty decent. I think it does a lot better than the elemental build that you would supposed to do better. 10%, and you know, putting only 10% here, elemental damage, whilst having a full green screen, whilst having a full green build is a lot better in my opinion than putting everything to the blue points just for this build, because all of these points is a waste. All of these points is a waste except the middle one up here. All of these points are shit because the pet is weak right now. In future, it might get buffed, then they will be useful, but right now the pet is quite weak, so I would say this is a waste. At least I compared it, as I said, to the boss fight and to this random challenge, and I did better with my build than I did with the elemental build. This is like a new after patch build that I think it's obvious one, but basically make sure you use Spider Ant if you want more elemental damage. I also tried rack attack, you know, the rack attack, especially the cryo ones when I'm going with a cryo build. It's okay, but nowhere near as good, like nowhere near as good as this, you know, and fade away damage, just nowhere near. So as I said, the best weapons are Lucian's Call, but you can also use any other weapon. KOV weapons are good to set yourself on fire without doing much damage. Melee weapons, as elemental damage, they do the most, so they are really decent if you want to kill the boss quickly. You can also use melee weapon together with Unforgiven, because melee projectile speed is quite slow. Anyway, that's it. That's pretty much it. That's all I wanted to share with you. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe if you want to see more videos. I know this one was a bit of an obvious one, but I just wanted to point out a few little changes that happen now after the patch and after all the nerfs and, you know, buffs that have been added all along. This is like the optimal build in my opinion, and going with elemental damage is the best, I think, now, instead of just going normal Jacob's weapon. And thank you guys for watching again. Make sure to comment down below anything I missed out or anything better idea that you have. Maybe there's a better way to, you know, use this build that I don't know of. But other than that, I see you guys in the next video. Bye.